Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Can't Teach Size, a hockey podcast. I'm one of your regular hosts, Lyss, joined by my fantastic friend and colleague, Brady, and we are here today to talk a little bit about the summer of the NHL so far, a couple of things that have happened, particularly in the last week and a half, with the draft and free agency all falling into the last little stretch. Very busy time for people whose lives revolve around hockey, especially on July 1st. Man, oh man, my head was darting back and forth every 5 seconds. Deals everywhere. Lots of chaos on draft day as well. Not enough trades, in my opinion, but, lots of stuff to talk about nonetheless, with a stacked draft and players inevitably falling or bumping up in the lineup or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to talk about all of that today. We're also going to probably do a little puck doku together because, there's nothing more fun than games that take away from your regular social life. But yeah, before we get started, Brady, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of in one right now. The past 2 nights I've been to 2 different bachelor parties. So I'm feeling great on this wonderful Saturday morning. Yesterday we were at the Bomber game and we were all dressed up in matching fits right on the sidelines.
You guys were on TV a couple times.
Were we? Actually,
yeah.
I'm not surprised. It was a very funny thing, and that one was not like it was one of my dad's friends actually was getting married, and so I wasn't even supposed to go, and they're like, we have an extra ticket and an extra outfit, so you want to come? I'm like, fuck yeah, of course I do.
That sounds sick. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm surprised I have a voice today. We were all just sitting there heckling the Stampeders on the side, and luckily I almost said the Jets, the Bombers came out on top as they usually do, because we have the best CFL team here by far.
So true.
Yourself?
Absolutely. I did not go to the Bomber game last night, but I went to Dev Camp this week for the Jets a couple times, which was really fun. A couple of stretches on Wednesday and Friday, and then today is a scrimmage, but we were doing this instead, and I'm having my birthday party tonight because I've never really had like a birthday party, and I've decided that this year is the year that I'm going to have a birthday party. And it's Taylor Swift themed, so all of my friends have to wear Era's outfits to their parties tonight. Brady decided that one of his other friends matters more than me to him.
I already made these plans. I'm sorry. I would have shown up and I would have killed it. And honestly, I'm just letting you know, I didn't want to embarrass everyone else at the party and steal like steal the spotlight, because I would have came and just destroyed everyone with my fit. So
what would your fit have been?
Hey, like in case you do this in like a year or two, like I don't want to spoil it. I just want to keep it, under wraps. Okay. It's too good to just give away for free on the podcast here. Everyone say happy birthday, Lyss, also.
Yes, it's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to it. The fact I sent out the calendar invites in May and Brady already had plans, so I actually respect the hell out of that because that's a very me thing to do. I booked my birthday party on this weekend because this is in May. It was my only free weekend of the summer, so I was like, gotta do it. So
and you know me, like booking for in the future is not something I do.
No.
So
absolutely not.
So the fact that I had something on this weekend means I was told very, very early that I had to have
every time
weekend.
Brady's like, do you have time to do something this week? I look at him with like my hands shaking. I'm like, no, I filled my calendar up. You need to give me more time than that. So
isn't that
we
great?
Are very different.
Isn't that great to have this partnership of someone who over plans and someone who's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think I have a couple things this week. I don't know. I can't remember, but I'll remember the day before.
Like, no, literally. Yeah, it's quite the partnership, but it works nonetheless. Let's get into talking a little bit about hockey. So maybe we'll go in somewhat of a chronological order. We'll start Dev Camp this week. Like I mentioned, I went to the Jets, saw a couple of things with some of their players, liked a couple things I saw, wasn't so keen on others. Pretty small Dev Camp for the Jets this year. Not as many players as previous years because they haven't had as many picks in the last little bit while they've been in a semi-winning-ish window. But other teams in the NHL, all 31 other teams are operating some form of Dev Camp around a similar time as well, I believe. So we've been hearing a lot about different teams and some of the young players that have had good showings at camp. Adam Fantilli, most notably, I feel like I've seen a ton about him just lighting it up in Columbus, which is very cool. But this all came right after the NHL draft, which happened for some of the teams like 3 days before their Dev Camp started. Like some of them are pretty close. Kids flew over from Europe or from Canada to Nashville to get drafted, and they stuck around and just full steam ahead, I guess, for some of those kids. So, Brady, early thoughts on the draft, and I understand that you watched it and you had some thoughts, I'm sure, on some of the picks and whatnot. Right off the bat, what did you like about the NHL draft this year? What didn't you like? Who did you like? Who didn't you like? Give me your thoughts on all of it.
In a very broad sense, like, I will say that this was a pretty entertaining draft in the sense of, like, a lot of things didn't go, in quotes, according to plan. Obviously, we didn't get the Uri Slafkovsky going above Shane Wright for the first overall thing. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen with Connor Bedard at number one. But we got it right after, Leo Carlsson going ahead of Adam Fantilli, which is honestly, like, I'm not going to criticize the pick at all, because I think that Leo Carlsson is also fantastic.
He's a stud, yeah.
And I think that the Ducks kind of just saw him as like, oh, this guy could be our next Getzlaf kind of guy, and kind of fits that archetype a little bit more. I don't think that you should draft on archetype, but I at least understand it. But hey, Jarmo Kekalainen, like, busted it. Like, I've never seen a guy get up quicker to go make his pick. Like, he was so happy to get Fantilli. And as you said, with all the draft like footage we've seen, the dev camp stuff, like, it seems like Columbus is just so happy to have Adam Fantilli.
Well, freaking, I am so high on the Columbus Blue Jackets prospect pool. Like, him, Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger. Yeah, shut up. And now having Adam Fantilli's BFF, Gavin Brindley's there. Yegor Chainikov is still a freaking beauty. Like, I am so obsessed with them. Like, my God.
They've got some guys coming up.
Because it's not like some teams have, like, a ton of, like, good players. They have, like, an absurd amount of great players. Like, under the age of, like, 22, they have, like, 4 or 5 studs, like, absolute studs.
I would maybe put that down to, like, 2 or 3, but I get what you're saying. I would say Fantilli and Johnson. I'm like, those guys are for sure studs in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
The others, I'm like, they're gonna be good. They're gonna be very important players. But sorry, not to throw water on your fire.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean that the craziness didn't even stop there too. With obviously Michkov falling. Will Smith going at 4th is not a surprise at all.
No.
But then we get our first big surprise, David Reinbacher.
David.
Not to make fun of Carey Price, but also to make fun of Carey Price.
You got it,
dude. It's one name. Come on, like,
it's 3 syllables. You can do it, girly.
It sounds like Redenbacher, just like Orville Red. Like, just remember the popcorn. Just think, it sounds like that.
Linebacker with an R.
Wow,
like,
you incredible mind.
Thank you. I know, it's crazy. But no, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I understand, like, if you're not like a big public speaking person, whatever, like, sometimes your mind just like blanks. I totally understand that. But if you know that you're that type of person, like, girl, bring up a little piece of paper with the name on it or something, because, like, poor David Reinbacher. Like, it's like, I literally was watching, like, I was filming all my reactions to the first round picks, and he's like, from whatever league he's from in Europe or whatever. He's like, David, and I was like, and I was shocked too, because I didn't think they were gonna take him. I was like, Reinbacher? I was like, what are we doing here? I
had at least seen stuff that they were probably gonna take him, which is crazy consider, like, obviously it all depended on where, if Michkov went for, like, in the top 4, and then someone else of those top 5 guys would have dropped. But damn, like, even that's a wild pick to make in my opinion, because it's like, I get it, I understand. They're like, okay, we need to, get some defensemen, and he's the top defenseman in the draft. And at the same time, I look at it and I go, they still got the top defenseman in the draft, so, like, they'll be fine. But they had the opportunity to draft, a potential, like, insanely high skilled player, like, potentially one of the, I've seen people even say that he could be even, like, has potentially higher, like, ceiling than Bedard does, which is crazy. It's not likely, but they said ceiling wise, like, obviously Bedard is, definitely going to be very, 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 very good. But I've seen things being like Michkov could be as good, if not better. It's just a lot more risk there. And obviously, Connor Bedard has so much more hype around him. And no one would ever say that.
No, Michkov, but I understand what you're saying in the sense where it's like, it's not as egregious of a pick as some people are acting like it is.
Yeah. But then we can move on to the egregious pick. The Arizona Coyotes. What?
Yeah,
What do they do?
it's giving David Reinbacker an announcement because you just don't know what to say.
I here's the thing. I with the Reinbacker one, I can at least go. I can rationalize it. It makes sense in certain ways. I don't agree with it, but I can rationalize it.
Yeah.
I don't understand taking Dmitry Simashev, and I'm also going to very obviously put a disclaimer here. I'm not the biggest prospect guy, but I do a little bit of research. I do a little bit before the draft because I enjoy the draft. But it's like,
Well, and also when your team is picking at 17th overall, you look at some of the players that are going to be drafted around 17th overall, and some people are like, "Oh, they could reach and take Dmitry Simashev." No, no, no. He's going at number 6.
the biggest thing, it's not even like, oh, we might have been able to get him later. The biggest thing for me is you have a team in Washington who very obviously wants to get Michkov because he's a Russian. They've already got Ovi. It makes sense for Washington and Washington fans to all be like, Michkov is the guy we want. So like, again, I'm not saying that they had to work out some incredible deal or anything like that, but come on, Coyotes, you even just dropping back 2 picks and taking Simashev at 8. Like, I don't think, like, there was still Michkov was going to go. I'm sure if he went at 6 with, like, if you trade down with like the Caps and you get the 8th pick, I am so beyond confident that Simashev would have been there at number 8. So it's like, what, you can work something out. Like, even if they won't give you much, if they would give you like a 3rd or a 4th or whatever, still, you can recoup more assets and still get the players that you want. Like, it's just poor management, in my opinion.
So weird. And yeah, like, especially for them with the position that they were in, the fact that, like, the players that were available between, I want to say maybe spots 5 and, like, 15 were pretty, like, having 2 picks in there, like, the odds of you getting a good player is 100%. So you can move down a little bit in that order and you can still, and yeah, if it's exactly the player that you want, he will be there. I promise you.
Yeah. I mean, and the Coyotes didn't even stop there. Like, they again, at, like, what was their next pick? You said 17?
12 or 11 or 12, I want to say. 17 was the Jets pick, I'm pretty sure. Their next pick was 11 or 12.
They were 12. They were 12. Man, though, it's always so funny watching as a Jets fan because you're sitting there always at like pick 18-ish, and you're always just sitting there watching, going, okay, please take someone, like, please reach on someone so that the good players that I want will drop.
Keep falling, yeah.
And every single pick that's taken that is like, not the status quo in or whatever, is always just like, oh my god, we might get this guy. Oh my god, we might get this guy. Oh my god, we might get this guy. Oh my god, every single pick that goes on.
There were like
on
6 guys that I didn't think the Jets were gonna have a chance at that I was like, we might get him at the time. It's giving flashes of 2020 draft when the Jets got Cole Perfetti and Anton Lundell was still on the board, because it's like, what are these teams doing?
Yeah, that was also a very weird draft, but also
such a fun draft.
We did our first show together after that draft.
Did we really?
Yeah, that was the first time I was on JCP.
Stop! That's so cute. No way.
Yeah.
Shout out Cole Perfetti.
Shout out. Because I remember we were doing a prospect show, and I was just like, yeah. From what I knew Cole Perfetti, but I remember being like, yeah, Daniel Torgerson looks all right. But I think there were better players available. But
Johansson.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the Tyrell Bauer draft too.
Oh my god. Okay, Tyrell Bauer, I have been watching a dev camp this week, and I'm like, he doesn't look very good. But then he goes down the little walkway and is like signing autographs to the kids, and I'm like, unfortunately, I have to love him.
He's gonna be a great AHL captain one day.
Jamie Olingiu. No, for real. But as far as the draft goes, like, I think you're 100% right that there are a couple of those picks that were kind of wild. Even in that top 10, like, if you keep going, like, Michkov going at 7 made perfect sense, and it would have made perfect sense at 8, 9, 10. Anywhere that he went, like, it was the right pick for that team to
absolutely.
make. Arizona fumbled and, like, all these things. But there's also a lot of discussion going around about how Michkov was like, I'm not going to play in Arizona or Montreal. Why he would play in Philadelphia and not those markets, I don't fully understand. But
my big criticism with that being like, oh, well, he wouldn't have came and played for us. At the end of the day, you still have a fucking, like, you still have a very high asset, like a very good asset.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
yours.
you
Yeah.
look at like the Lindros thing, like the Lindros pick at number 1 from the Nordiques, and he was like, I will not play for the Nordiques, do not pick me. And then they still picked him. He's like, I will not play for you. And they're like, okay, well, we'll trade you for Peter Forsberg and like 4 other guys that basically set up like the Avalanche to have their run in the mid 90s. So like,
Yeah, but then it's giving Pierre-Luc Dubois, right? Where it's like if teams know that that player won't play for you,
it's
it's
still an asset
hard.
at a
It's
certain.
still an asset. No, I get it. And if there's gonna be a bidding war about that player, that's when it changes everything. So, and with someone like Mitchkov, there would have been. So
Exactly. Like you could have very easily pitted, Philadelphia and Washington against each other, and I'm sure 2 other teams would have been interested also.
yeah,
Like I don't know. It's still insane to me. I cannot get over Arizona doing what they did. But it was also
yeah.
very funny when they picked their second pick, Daniel Boot. I was watching the like simulcast draft thing on Sportsnet. It was like Colby Armstrong and someone else I can't remember. Because my cable went out, unfortunately, right before that it got canceled. So I had to watch it on YouTube on this. But it was funny because they were doing an interview with Simashev while this pick was happening. They're like, oh, who should they take? And he was just like, they should take Daniel Boot. He's one of my buddies out from Russia. And then they made the pick, and he was like, what? Losing his mind. And like Colby Armstrong looks over at him. He's like, wait, was that the guy you said? And he's like, yeah, that's my buddy. That's my buddy. And I'm
That's
like,
so cute.
it's very cute, but it's also like, come on, man, like make the right picks, because like
No, I know. I hate it.
Like when
too.
was Daniel Boots supposed to go? Like a definitely later than 12. That's for sure.
Late first round, I think. I like. Well, I mean, it's also subjective, but like whatever. Yeah, but no, I hated that pick. Also hated Detroit's pick at number 9. Wheat Kings captain. You are fine with that pick. I hate it, but I think it's also my whole like I'm same as you, like best asset on the board, you take it sort of thing. And if you're scouting in the WHL, baby, Zach Benson is right there. Zach Benson is right there. So what are we doing here?
I don't love the pick, to be clear,
Yeah.
because of what else was available. But I still think they'll get a guy in him, and like in Nate Danielson, who is like actually very good still. And you know what?
Yeah.
I to a certain extent trust the Red Wings scouting, because they've taken some off the board, in quotes, off the board picks. Guys like oh my god, what's his name? I can literally pick Moritz Seider. Was not supposed to go at 6th the one year. They've had some
that
other
was a
ones
sweet
too.
pick.
So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And at the end of the day, he's a big center who was pretty good this past year. So he should be okay. He'll get his chances to make it into the league. But again, Zach Benson, so goddamn good. I remember even just now seeing the dev camp videos of him in Buffalo,
right?
And I'm just like, that's a player. I was sitting, I was hoping and praying that he would make it to the Jets. But of course that wouldn't happen, because Buffalo loves just collecting their Winnipeg Ice prospects like their Infinity Stones. They got Peyton Krebs, they got Matt Savoy, they got Zach Benson. They're building a super team there.
I love it.
They went they saw the Winnipeg Ice's total record before they obviously like left and died. And they were like, maybe this team has some good players on it.
If they sign Nolan Orzik in free agency, they're going to win a Stanley Cup. So,
Nolan Orzik.
But I respect them, because we were like, oh, the Winnipeg Ice don't exist anymore. They do. They just play in Buffalo. But I feel like, we can probably move on from the draft in a little bit. We could talk a little bit about the Jets pick. I think there's so much weirdness that happened in the first round or in the first 10 picks that we haven't, like, people don't talk a lot about what happened between picks 10 and 20, but there were so many weird picks in there too.
Yeah.
Dvorsky, weird pick. Willander, weird pick. Dvorsky?
No. Dvorsky's
a stud, but
that I was sitting here. I remember talking in our game over chat to the Canucks people and being like, you guys could get Dvorsky here. And like, I like Dvorsky a lot. Like, there are definitely other people to like point and look at. Like, I don't think that Samuel Honzek's going to be that great. I don't
I
think
like the Braden Yeager pick. Like, I think that one's really good. And that's like, I guess you're right. Yeah, the divorcee one. Like, I think
it's
it's just because I was so bitter about Benson at the time that I was like, that's a shitty pick. And
okay,
it's not really.
and that's very fair. And I do agree with you. The Willander pick is, again, there were other. Why wouldn't you just take Sandin Pellikka? Like again, that's
Okay,
the next.
I saw someone. I was so terrified that the Jets, because I really didn't want them to take Sandin Pellikka because I was like, that is Ville Heinola. I was like reading about some of these guys, and I was like, they will ruin him.
Yeah.
I don't want him.
Yeah.
And then they took the opposite. So
Well, no, because Detroit took him right before us, and then again, same thing. Chevy had his Jarmo Kekalainen moment of just being like, "Oh, well, got to go up there to draft Colby Barlow," like he
yeah,
seemed
no,
super
for
happy
sure.
for it. I was at
Okay,
I
you
how do
like
you
the
feel?
Colby Barlow pick. I like it too. But do you think that that was the best player left on the board at the time that it was taken?
I don't know. I don't know because for me, I look at him. I look at him. I look at Oliver Moore, and I look at Gabe Perreault. Like Perreault
Yeah,
is the one who I initially was like, I would really like them to get him, and I was like, please take Perreault. As soon as they picked Barlow, I was a little bit disappointed because I
yeah.
wanted Perreault. But since that time, I've had some time to look into Barlow a little bit more, and also, you know, I'm allowed to change my opinion because my team took a guy. I'm allowed to
Yeah, no,
be like, that's
totally.
my guy. That's my guy now. I have to support him.
I
But
agree.
like
No.
everything I've seen from Colby Barlow, like he's got a wicked shot, which is great for the Jets
Yes.
because they need some fucking scoring. He's a leader. It seems like the Jets are drafting for culture now, which
They
like
really are.
uh, as long as that doesn't get in the way of drafting good players,
Right.
I think that
Right.
that's a good thing. And I think that with this pick here, like this was a pick that was like, okay, not only is he going to be, a potential future. I've already heard on so many different shows about him that he's a future captain kind of guy. So it's like, that's
Maybe the first ever co-captains in the league will be him and Recker McGroarty. Who knows?
dude, seeing him and McGroarty at Devs
Okay.
camp, they look,
And that's the one thing
they're,
I have to say when you're like, it seems like the Jets are really going in like their character moment. And I am so pessimistic about the Jets all the time. But I'm sorry, I have never seen such positive vibes around the Jets like I did this week. Like those guys are on the ice and they are laughing and they are spending all their time talking to fans out on the walk afterwards. Like they are so happy and every single one of them is like chatting with the other and like all like the vibes are really good out there. Like I'll be real with you. They're
yeah.
real good. Training camp won't be the same, I'm sure. And it was so funny. I was talking to Marat and he's like, yeah, like, all these guys aren't jaded about the team the same way like that the current Jets players are. And I was like, well, because he's right. Like everyone who's been in that room or part of that team for the last 2-3 years has just been like so disheartened about so many things. These guys don't have that same pessimism and stuff like that surrounding it. So they shouldn't be jaded the same way the current Jets are, but it's just really refreshing and nice. And Recker McGroarty and Colby Barlow are definitely leading the charge on that positive vibes thing.
And you know what? It's probably because they never had to interact with Paul Maurice as their captain or as their coach. That's probably what it is.
Run with that theory.
Always got to take jabs.
So for the draft, there were not a lot of trades that happened during the time. No player trades really, and maybe in the second day I was just watching the picks. I didn't really see if they announced a couple of trade ups, trade downs, and all that good stuff, whatever. But other things have happened since then. And there have been trades since then. There have been signings since then. So
do you want to touch at all on like the other picks that just kind of like the non-round one picks really quickly and just be like, who did you like?
And there are a couple. Sorry, what did you say?
Like the picks we were chatting, being like, oh yeah, like your favorite picks outside of the first round.
Oh yeah. I had a couple. I made a TikTok about it, guys. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. Go plug. Yeah, I thought again, lots of good players went in the second round. I had a couple that I really like. Gavin Brindley was one of my favorite picks for sure because he and Adam Fantilli are like best buddies and teammates right now in college. So I like that pick and I think it's going to be very motivating for both of them to play with each other and also good player. But I'm always a little bit of a sucker for like a story during the draft. Like, when a team gets drafted by like a player gets drafted by like their hometown team or something, it always just like kind of makes me go, oh.
When Masar went last year and him and Slavkovsky were like, oh my God, we're playing together,
No, exactly. And then also like this year, I can't remember his name, but the last overall pick, Columbus traded to get that pick and they picked him and he's so excited. Like it's just, there are so many things I love. Anyways, I really like the Lucas Dragicevic pick. I think Seattle had a nice draft.
Seattle had a very good draft.
I really liked a lot of their picks. Speaking of Seattle, Thomas Milic from the Thunderbirds. Again, Jets
go!
picks, I love that pick. I love it. I love goalies in the late round. He was a World Junior goalie. Like, I'm surprised he fell as much as he did. I feel like people are a little bit, like, skeptical because he's an overager and stuff, but, like, I don't know. I like your odds at 151.
On goalies, that's not at all like I don't think that's a bad thing. On overagers is bad for skaters usually because they will have like a very inflated season, but they're like a 20-year-old playing against 16-year-olds. So obviously, and that's why I think was it Naring, the Zach Naring pick?
Yes.
The Jets, was he the overager that they took? I can't remember.
No, he's like 12, is he not? He's so young.
Like
I thought he was a child.
Well, the Jets took some overager. Was it in the I don't know. I can't remember. It was one of their pick. Oh, it was the Jacob Julian pick.
Jacob Julian.
That was
a
brutal pick. But the Thomas Milic pick, absolutely phenomenal. This guy is a stud. I'm not great at evaluating goalies when they're younger.
Same, yeah.
All the time. But obviously, we all saw what he did in the World Juniors. He won the WHL championship with the Thunderbirds this year. Obviously, it was a good team. But I spoke to my cousin, who is a goalie, runs like a goalie camp down in Birmingham. He plays in the SPHL, played previously WHL, AHL for a bit, and he is doing a lot of like coaching and like working towards representing some kids, and he was like, man, Thomas Milic, like that guy has potential to be an absolute stud. He's like, me and my buddies were like, just during the World Juniors, we're just going back and forth being like, we absolutely love this guy. So I trust him. He's a very good goaltending mind. He's a bit of a goalie nerd. So I'm super happy with that pick. And again, we potentially the next like Devin Levi, in the sense of everyone kind of let him drop a bit because he's a bit smaller, but then everyone now is like, oh my God, he's the next big goalie for the Sabres. They don't need to trade for Hellebuck, blah, 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 this and that. So I love that pick. Other picks I liked, I really like the Andrew Crystal pick by Washington. There again, I agree with you on the Dragovich one, blah blah blah, this that. I think that's pretty much it for all the like ones. Oh, and also just a shout out to the Chicago Blackhawks, who got their future two centermen in Connor Bedard and Oliver Moore, who are going to absolutely pound the Jets for the next 15 years. I can't wait to watch them do it every single season, whatever, Damn.
Yeah, real. And last thing that I will say, like I was just looking at my list, like I really like the Grayson Souchin pick. He's also another Seattle Thunderbird because that team was so stacked. WHL was well represented this year. So emotionally, from a personal note, very happy about that. I feel like the OHL always thinks they run circles around everybody for rightful reasons. They have a lot of studs in that league, so like I get it. But WHL, we're on the up and ups, baby.
It's just the league responding to the Vegas Golden Knights winning the cup with 4 Manitobans,
Oh my God. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Let's go.
Let's talk about free agency a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the general summer so far, winners and losers kind of at the end. So we won't, specifically say this team won the draft or this team won free agency, but let's talk about a couple of the deals. Like this was a busy July 1st. Was this not a busier July 1st than we've seen like in a little while? Like it was crazy.
Yeah, especially it was pretty busy, but we also had like, I'll be honest, like the free agency class was pretty mid for a lot of it. So
totally.
So that's why I'm like, this was a very busy, considering how like, the teams and the players that were available. It's like, I don't know, like it's surprising how many of these, like obviously everyone's going to get signed, but
yeah, I guess maybe it's partially because there weren't like the 4 or 5 huge names available that kind of take over people's attention, where everyone was mid. So we all kind of like diversified our horizons a little bit to sort of see what everything was happening, because there weren't like huge names going anywhere. Maybe, I don't know. I just came up with that theory right now. But right off the top of your head, let's just jump right into it. Brady, what was your least favorite deal of the day from the perspective of the team? Like,
Oh,
team made the worst signing,
I
absolute worst signing.
oh man, that's a tough one. I'll be honest with you. It's very funny as a Jets fan. Usually, you don't really got to pay a lot of attention on July 1st because not a whole lot's going on for you. But I don't have one specific deal. I just need to call into question what is going on in Detroit. Like that's
Okay, because my least favorite deal is a Detroit deal.
okay. Which
So
one is
that's
it?
about the Justin Hole deal.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is
That's
that?
that's pretty bad. 3 years, 3 years at
Like,
three
Justin
point
Hole is not
four.
that good.
No, 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 no. He is.
He's,
He is
dare I say,
not.
bad.
Some people, notably Ian Tulloch, might argue with you that he is actually good. But no, I from everyone
Get
else.
math out of the game. If your analytics are telling you that Justin Hall is good at hockey, then analytics are fake.
Well, his transition numbers are shut up. Shut up. No, he's bad. He's not good. When I agree that those things matter, but like to a certain extent, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Yes,
No,
100%.
there is no.
Missing the forest for the trees.
Thank
Maybe
you.
you're good at a couple other things, but you're bad at most of them.
Regardless, signing a guy who's 31 to a 3-year deal, making a raise after like he literally was getting healthy scratch by the end of that series, I want to say, like, not a good signing. And all in all, like I this is more of a grander question. Do we agree with the Yzerplan? Like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening in Detroit? Like, genuinely.
I don't understand, because here's my thing about this whole Yzerplan. Like, I know you.
Yzerplan.
I keep calling it the Yzerplan because I think it's funny because it's like the wiser, like it's smarter and it's wiser, but it's not. My whole thing with it is that, like, and not with it, just in general with teams, like I understand that you can't have an entire team of 21-year-olds and then 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds, but you're very clearly, like, he's made it public that they're coming out of the rebuild or whatever, but that doesn't mean you sign a 31-year-old defenseman to a contract with term. Like, you need 31-year-old defensemen. I understand that, but not on that deal. And like, there are a couple other things. Like, I really don't understand, like, what they think is going to be like their, like, is Dylan Larkin, like, is that their guy? Is that just what they're running with? Or are they going to wait for, is it going to be like Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider are going to be their new, like, Kopitar Doughty or whatever? I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think I fully understand the vision there.
So my big criticism with with what's going on in Detroit is it's just like, the Justin Hall thing is bad, but it's even worse when you consider last year they gave 4.75 to Ben Sherratt for God knows how many years until he's 35.
And then the Andrew Cobb take is bad too.
And yeah, the same thing. It's just like, and listen, I get it. You got to fill in guys around. I think they this made a couple decent deals, signing Daniel Sprong to a $2 million deal. That's a good deal. That's a guy who probably shouldn't have reached free agency. I don't know why he didn't get qualified. Maybe I think the whole thing was potentially arbitration. I'm not going to get into that, but
one of my favorite deals, though, for sure, too.
Like, yeah, like that's a good deal, but at the same time, it's like it's filled with a bunch of random ones, like Klim Kostin. Again, you get him for free in that cap dump trade from Edmonton.
Yeah.
But my criticism here is, I would have preferred, like, why wouldn't you keep Yamamoto? Like, I think Yamamoto is better than Klim Kostin.
And also, isn't Klim Kostin going back to the KHL next year?
No,
Okay.
He needed a new deal and he signed. So
he did. Okay.
Yeah. So again, like, it just feels like. And then, even their goalies, like, they got Reimer as their backup, which I think is decent, but other than the he's not a great guy.
No, I know what you mean.
But like, this team just screams to me, we're coming out of our rebuild a little too quickly. Like,
yeah,
I think they've got some good prospects. Like, again, Marco Kasper is a good prospect. They've got still Elmar Soderblom's gigantic and will be, pretty good going forward. Simon Edvinsson, same thing, big on the back end. They've got some good players, but it's just like these deals are gonna be cumbersome. Like, why would you give 3 years to Justin Hall? When, like, again, you have these young guys who are potentially going to come up and be better than him already, and then you're just going to get what the Jets ran into of having guys like, Brennan Dillon, who I would say is certainly better than Justin Hall, but is kind of taking up a roster spot, and you're like, oh, can we really take him out to put in this young guy?
Right.
So I just don't understand what they're doing. Like
It's giving shades of the Columbus Blue Jackets, but just with more smaller deals as opposed to less but bigger ones. Like it's where it's like you sort of see the vision, but then they'll make a move and you're like, what? Like it's not 100%. Like I just don't think I understand what they're trying to do. I really don't.
The one thing I'll say just to end it off is go look at their cap friendly, go look at their team, just go look even at their lines on daily faceoff, and tell me if that's a team you think that can compete with the Leafs, the Bruins, the Lightning, the Sens potentially, the Montreal Canadiens when all their prospects go, the Buffalo Sabres when all their prospects go. Like, this is a team that is doomed to be right in the middle of the pack, and that is the worst place that you can be. And the issue is they have players on long-term deals, so you're going to be at the middle of the pack for a while until
they're on like non-tradable long-term deals. Yeah, like, no one wants that.
Why did you have to give a modified no trade to Justin Hall? Like, what? Genuinely, what? Like, who were you bidding against? Like the Canucks? Let the Canucks be stupid. Like, what?
Well,
like that's their bit. So. That the Canucks are stupid. That's their bit.
Truly.
As someone who grew up a Canucks fan, like, that's what they do.
Well, and they didn't they had their own fair share of terrible defenseman deals this week too. I hate the Luke no, they didn't sign Luke Shen. Luke Shen went to the Preds. The Ian Cole deal I hate. And there are a couple, but like the Wings, like I just don't. We can move on from them, but I keep saying the same thing. I just don't get it. What are we doing here? But maybe in like a more positive note, I know you have a couple of teams that you think are had some really neat deals. What were some of your favorite deals from the day?
All in all, just I think the team that did the best, and I think that I'm gonna say this right now. I think a team that I think is going to be challenging for the Cup next year. I don't think it's a big thing to say this, but they are my pick right now to win the Cup. It's the Dallas Stars. I'll be honest with you. This team made some pretty good deals here. Notably, Matt Duchene, who should not have became
so heat.
Like, again, like I understand he maybe wasn't making his worth of $8 million. We'll talk about the Preds shortly, I'm sure, and the fact that they decided to move on from him and Ryan Johansson and blah 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 and this and that. But Matt, and listen, maybe they're trying to turn the corner, but again, we'll talk about them in a minute. But Matt Duchene should not have became a free agent, in my opinion. I'm sure someone could have taken him even on just like even if you wanted to retain like $2 million on him. Like, I'm sure a team would have taken him at $6 million if you really wanted to get him off your books and not pay a buyout penalty. But he signs for 1 year, $3 million in Dallas, and that's going to be, dude, like
worth every penny.
Their forward core was already insane, is even better now. Like, looking at this, like,
so nice.
Up the middle, you've got obviously Rupe Hintz is a two-way dynamo.
Freaking stud.
Unreal. You've still got, where am I looking here? You still, obviously now you have Matt Duchene. You've got Tyler Seguin, who is kind of up and down, but still,
highest paid player in the league.
Still, not exactly, but yeah, I know what you mean. And then even on top of that, they signed, the Sam Steele, which I think was
love that deal.
Again,
love that deal.
Just a good, depth signing. Great, love that. Yeah. Did they sign anyone on D? I can't remember. No, but their D is already really good. They
lost John Klingberg, so that's good.
Well, they lost John Klingberg a year or two ago. Yeah, because he played on the Ducks last year and then got traded to the Wild. But
I'm just stupid. It's fine.
That's okay. But they still, their forward core is nuts. Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski, Duchene, Dadonov, Seguin,
I need
Ben,
a Pavelski cup
Marchment
more than I need oxygen.
Yeah, I agree. Like, man, Joe Pavelski, the timeless wonder. Like, truly love that guy.
Like, and that's one of those things where it's like, that meme where it's like, after 2 glasses of wine, he thinks we about to get frisky, but actually he's about to hear why I think Joe Pavelski has changed the way that modern hockey players have learned how to shoot the puck. Like, the impact that he's had on the way, like, people, just offense in general, the way defensemen shoot, the way people shoot for rebounds, the way people shoot for tips, he's just changed everything.
He's the
He's
tip.
so cool.
He's the tip boy. Oh, and they also got Craig Smith again. Like, and they still have guys coming up like Wyatt John. Like, that's a great
Wyatt
team.
Johnson's a stud too.
That like genuinely such a good team, and they're just getting better. And again, I think Ottinger had a bit of an off year, and he still was very good last year. Like, that's going to be
fine. He'll be
it's going to
fine.
be a good team for a while, and I really liked what they did in free agency. Yeah. Did you have any notable teams other than the Stars that you wanted to mention on your winners in quotes?
Well, I am interested in the Carolina Hurricanes, just kind of winners in general. I think they drafted well. They often do, though. They're a pretty good late round drafting team. The Michael Bunting deal is weird to me. I can't decide how I feel about it, but that's definitely a player that's going to come into your lineup and make an impact. So I like that one a lot. And I don't remember why else I want to talk about them, but I feel like the Canes just did some nice little tidy work to sort of stay where they are, you know?
Dmitry Orlov. That's the other
that's
one.
So hot. That's so nice.
It's a lot of money, but like for only 2 years, like we need to get to a point here, and I think that right now the cap is kind of forcing players to take shorter term deals because they're like, I don't want to sign for 8 years and then have the cap go up in 2 years by like 4 or 5 mil, which we've been saying for like 8 years now, but it'll happen at some point. Obviously,
Leafs fans' favorite argument.
Hopefully, there's no pandemic again. But Dmitry Orlov and Michael Bunting, both really good. I like the Michael Bunting one. Again, 4.5 is totally fine for a guy like that. He's a guy who can kind of rough stuff up.
He's so Carolina coded. Like he really. I know what you mean.
I very much see what you mean by that.
Yeah. But a couple of other, like, not necessarily teams like that I think did well, but a couple of deals that I really like I'm not going to say the Bruins did well because I hate a lot of the moves that they made, but I love the JVR deal. I love that. Just a year, just $1 million, like super easy. But that's a player that I wanted so badly at the trade deadline this year, and I think he's still got a lot of impact left. And in a team like Boston, it's not a team where you have to go in and carry the team on your back. You can just be a role player.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's gonna do, and it's gonna be awesome. I love that deal. Weird one, maybe off the board. I haven't seen a lot of people talk. I like the Eric Johnson deal to the Sabres a lot.
Really?
I'm really high on the Sabres right now. And I think that that's such a nice piece. Again, where you can't have a team of 21-year-olds. You need a little bit of experience in that lineup. And Eric Johnson, just a year. I think I really like that. And it's 3.25. Eric Johnson, if the Sabres are not in a good position this year, any team in the NHL would take Eric Johnson for $2 million at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and he's not gonna be playing a prominent role there. Like again, Dahlin and Samuelsson are their top pair. They still have Owen Power and I guess Yoki Haru or Lyubushkin. I don't know.
Right.
And then you get
exactly.
So it's like that's totally fine. And again, the 1 year part of it, again, it's when you're signing a guy who's 35, if it's 1 year, who cares?
Who cares?
Exactly. It's a shot in the dark. It's a dart to see if he can help your team grow. I agree with you. I do actually really like that one. And we're gonna see some...
the other two that I just wanted to quickly mention, because I was saying before, I don't really like to talk too much about deals that are less than $1 million because they're just so nothing on paper that it's like it's like, oh, what a terrible deal, and it's like 1 year $750K. It's like it's really not that big of a deal. But I like the Avs getting Jonathan Drouin. I think that's still a player that has some potential and upside, and for less than $1 million, like you could get $3 million value out of him, 100%.
And they're reuniting the Halifax connection there between him and
let's
McKinnon.
get after it. Nikolai Ehlers win. Just kidding.
No, I thought about that and I was like, no. I don't want that to happen.
No. And then the last one I will say, and obviously like a little bit biased, it's so interesting. The Blake Wheeler deal, $800,000. It's so funny talking to people because Blake Wheeler is known to be, it's like, oh, bad defensively and stripped of the captaincy. So people are like, oh, he sucks. It's like you couldn't be farther from the truth. Blake, like a team getting Blake Wheeler at half retained would have been probably almost net positive for a $4 million 38-year-old defense or like forward. That's how good he is. Like
it's not 38. He's like 30. Isn't he 36? I don't know. Whatever.
Is he 37? Is he turning 38 next year? That was my whole thing. I don't know. Because most of the year is played next season
he's
or like
36.
next.
He's 36 right now.
I thought he was 37. That's my bad.
And
Okay,
but he's turning 37 in August. So you know what? You're right. I'll give it to you.
okay, you know what? Whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
I was like,
You
he can't be that
understand what
old.
I'm
He can't be
saying.
that old. But yeah, I guess he is that old.
And I will say, I love talking about him like he's like freaking geriatric when he's not even 40 years old. Like it's so sports are hilarious like that. But no, like for $800,000, like that is a player who could easily get 50 points next year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Easily.
You had a tweet that was like, this could be some really tidy business if he's played on like the third line and like second power play and is just like a distributor. Which like,
yes,
if they play him correctly, that's and you know, again, that's always what has been the criticism from Jets fans, has always just been his usage. It's not, you know,
totally.
we accepted his, I mean, you know, obviously we criticized the deal when it happened, but then we, you know, have to accept that that's a thing.
Right.
And then going forward, it was just like, okay, we'll just don't play him like more than 16 minutes a night. Don't play him in the top 6. And it was very funny when he got bought out. I had someone text me and be like, where's your Blake Wheeler tweets? Like, why aren't you tweeting about him? You know, like, why aren't you like dunking or anything, like dunking on him like I previously would have when he was on the Jets. And I was like, I don't really want to. Like I look back on Blake Wheeler. I like him as a person. He's a great guy. And I would say like I don't put the issues I have with him and the issues I had with him on the Jets, I don't put them on him. I put them on a coach who wasn't able to, you know, understand that maybe he was a little bit past his prime. I put that also, you know, the whole locker room stuff on a coach who just kind of left it up to him and didn't really give him much help. Maybe Wheeler should have reached out and been like, we need you to also be part of this, or the other teammates should have reached out and been like, this is too much, which obviously it got, you know, to be more than it should have been. But at the end of the day, like that was a player who gave his heart and soul to Winnipeg, and it is really sad to see the way it ended, because
agreed.
For so many years we were like, Blake Wheeler is so underrated. He is our guy. He bleeds Winnipeg in the sense of like, you know, being underrated, you know, the classic he picks up his lunch pail and he goes to work kind of guy.
Yeah, like 100%.
And yeah, so it was like it was not the time for dunking, because that is a guy who again, it sucks, and even with the whole locker room thing, like sometimes things just kind of get bad. Like that's
they do.
Like just think about any relationship you've had with someone, like not even like a romantic relationship, just anything, a friendship, anything. Sometimes people are in the wrong, and sometimes things just get really toxic and bad between you, and it's so much easier to have inaction than actual action. And again, my frustrations get put more on the organization than him, than the team, you know, like, so I'll miss him.
It's like, okay, maybe with a captain it's like they're supposed to do this, that, whatever. Like it's unreasonable to expect any player to like not act in their own interest and all these different kinds of things, and like selflessness can, you know, you try and exude that as a captain, things like that, but like the fact that he had so much autonomy to just like, and if he didn't like something, it was like the organization just like went with, like, it was so weird. Like it's just, there's so much unknown about that whole situation, but the thing that's clear is that there was buy-in from the org on certain players and not others, and it just spoiled and got rotten so fast and so like dramatically. So that, like, no, I don't blame Blake Wheeler for a lot of stuff, and you're right, usage has been the biggest issue. And I said this to my parents and they were like, oh, but I really think he should have been traded like 2 years ago to preserve his legacy, because I think now people are going to remember the captaincy strip and the buyout more than they're going to remember him being a top 5 winger in the NHL in 2016. Like, you know, so it's hard. And, you know, we won't beat this horse for too long, but good deal for the Rangers.
That's all to say is good stuff. I like that.
Good stuff, yeah. Speaking of not good stuff, though, I do want to talk about a couple of deals that I absolutely hate. I brought up Luke Shed. I don't know why. To me, he still plays for the Canucks, even though he hasn't played for them in like a year. It's the same thing. John Klingberg, whatever. I hate that deal. Luke Shed is not worth 3 years at almost $3 million. Absolutely not.
we're gonna talk about so he obviously signing with the Preds, to be clear. I think we both have some critiques of the Nashville Predators. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted it to be very clear that he is now with the Nashville Predators, in case you missed it.
Yes. No, and apparently I did. But yeah, I don't like that deal at all, especially for I don't know what they're doing. We can talk about that. My least favorite deal, I hate the Miles Wood deal more than I hate anything. I don't understand.
Who is that
The
with
Rachel
again?
Dory don't give term to role players is so facts, so true. 6 years for Miles Wood is crazy.
Who is
That's
that with
crazy.
again?
The Avalanche.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay, I do remember that actually.
I don't like that deal at all. And I also don't like the Radko Gudas deal. And I don't like the Alex Killorn deal. I know that you are
I
okay with the Alex Killorn deal, but I think between the two of those, you can give your explanation. And I understand where you're coming from. And it did change my perspective a little bit. I still don't like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a great deal or anything like that. I don't love the Radko Gudas one either. You shouldn't be giving 3 years to Radko Gudas when he's 33 at this point, especially at $4 million. But I would say he's kind of closer to like a $2 million guy. But the Alex Killorn one is not a good deal. Like I will preface everything I'm going to say with it is not a good deal. But
Yeah, but things are always more nuanced than that. I understand. Go
so,
forward.
but when I look at it, I'm like, okay, so at this point here, he's getting 6.25 for 4 years until he's 37. That is obviously going to age like milk, because he already wasn't a great player. And remember how many years we talked about? Oh, the Lightning need to move him. The Lightning need to move him. But with where the Ducks are at this moment, I don't hate it. They do still need to get to the floor. They have almost $30 million in cap space I'm looking at right now. But looking at that, like, again, that'll be done in 4 years. At that point, Ryan Strom's deal is also going to be done in 4 years. And you're probably going to be giving a decent amount of money to Trevor Zegras either this year, because he's currently an RFA, I believe. And if you end up wanting to bridge him, Troy Terry is also a RFA right now. So
they both are. Yeah.
either they're going to get paid right now or they're going to get paid in the future. Oh wow, and even Drysdale is also an RFA, I believe.
Is he really?
From what I can see, yeah, yes, he
What?
is. Yep. So they got some business to do, but regardless, I would imagine at least one or two of those guys get bridged. I'm sure they'll try to lock Zegras down, for long term. But I can see them bridging Drysdale just to make sure they have what they think they have with him.
And if I'm Drysdale, I'm taking a bridge too because he hasn't shown his worth yet. Not his fault, but
yeah, I completely agree. Mason McTavish too. So again, you have a lot of guys who at some point are going to be due for a raise. And I think that the end of Killorn's deal is along with Ryan Strome deal ending at the same time are going to kind of line up really well with around times when you need to sign guys. Whether it's that money is going to be pushed over to Zegras, Terry, Drysdale, McTavish at the end of those deals. If not, then you still have that money coming off the books to potentially when those guys are all better and good important players on the team, which they already are, but even more so, you'll have money to spend on other things, and hopefully the Ducks can kind of parlay that into being a better team. But they still have to figure out what's going on in goal, because John Gibson apparently did or didn't request a trade, but
that was debunked, was it not? I feel like until the day John Gibson actually gets traded, I'm not going to listen to anybody talking about John Gibson getting traded. I'm just tired of it. We've had the same conversation for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb. But no, I fully understand what you're saying. And I do think that, like you said, the timing of the deal, like if these were 8-year deals for lower AAVs, I would still be confused. Like this is better. I agree with you on that. Like it's fair.
My main point is they're fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, they're fine.
The deals I have more criticism with are we're gonna go back to Nashville if you don't
you
mind.
really want to talk about Nashville, so let's get into it.
I just think that Nashville feeds really well into another team we're gonna want to talk about. But Barry Trotz, our boy Barry, is doing work in Nashville. Looking at their draft class next year, they've got a frick ton of picks, so good for them. What's going on in Nashville? Are they trying to be good? Are they trying to be
Let's do a little timeline here. Yeah. So you got your team right now, which didn't make the playoffs this year. So we got to go in a direction. Sounds like they want to rebuild. We get rid of Johansson, get rid of Duchesne. There's someone else I'm missing. I don't know. Okay, that's fine.
We
Makes sense. Those guys are on a lot. They're making a lot of money. Just buy them out, trade them, whatever. It's fine. But now we're gonna sign Ryan O'Reilly. We're gonna sign Luke Shen.
Like I don't understand what they're going for here, because again, when you buy out a guy like Matt Duchene is as good, potentially better than Ryan O'Reilly. Like, he scored 40 goals like a couple years ago. Like, I think
different player, but I guess if you think about
very different player. But my point is, like, they're both good players, so I don't understand the reason to buy out Matt Duchene, take on the buyout penalty for however long, and then
and he had a lot of money and a lot of years, or a couple years left. Yeah, like that's a big buyout.
It's like 2.5 next year. It's 5.5, then 6.5, then 1.5, 1.5, 1.5.
That's bad.
So it's like
that's so bad.
That's a lot of money,
Yeah.
To be paying a guy to not play for your team. They still have retained money on Mattias Ekholm. They have
right.
They have dead cap also on Ryan Johansson.
Yeah.
They're still paying Kyle Turris from when they paid him out. So, like, listen, I understand. I would not be against this Ryan O'Reilly deal if it were 1 year, even 2 years. Even 2 years, I'd be like, listen, you got to have guys. Hopefully, he's there to teach, Cody Glass, the next guys who are coming up, which I don't even know who their prospects are. They don't have
also signed, also good deal. Just FYI.
Who?
The Cody Glass deal.
Oh, yes,
Cody Glass.
Yes, very good. I like that. But like, what are they, like? They just look like they're doing the, like, we are trying to be competitive, but like, I'll criticize the Jets for trying to be competitive, but it looks like they're actually going to be decently competitive next year. So
yeah,
something silly might happen. Who knows? And also I think the Jets have a big prospect pool they can fall back on. But looking at here, like, Ryan O'Reilly for 4 years at 4.5, like, that deal is going to take him till most likely like the end of his career. Probably, like, he's 32 right now, so it'll be 36 when that ends. And that Ryan O'Reilly might be a guy who can stretch it into, the late 30s, but
I don't think he is.
I don't know, because he's had some injuries, but it just doesn't really make sense. And even like on their D side of things, like, they lost, again, like I said, they lost Ekholm, and yet they still have Tyson Barrie. They didn't re-sign him, did they? I don't think
Tyson Barrie?
Or like, this is a deal okay, yeah,
no.
sorry, this is still the same deal from when he was in whatever that place is, out west, Edmonton. But like,
he got married yesterday.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and everyone, yeah, I saw that. The photo is wild. But like, what's going on? Like, their decor is so mid. Like, Yossi, great. McDonough, all right, old. Barrie, mid to bad. Luke Shen, mid. Like, and then other than that, like, Dante Fabro, again, mid at this point in his career, like, mid.
Yeah.
This team is just a bunch of mid and UC Saros. Like,
well, right, exactly. And then with UC Saros, it's like to me, you want to be good right now because UC Saros is able to do so. Like, he's Connor Hellebucking them, right? Where it's like, you can make a good team great or a bad team good when you have a goaltender like that. So why are you putting all this money into buyouts of players who are still effective right now?
Yeah, it's kind of like putting hands into both cookie jars, right? So like,
exactly.
I just that's my main thing, and again, we love half measures in this league. It's so cool. We
need a name for the new Yzerplan for Barrie, because I don't understand what he's up to.
I'm gonna ponder that, and we'll come back to that later, I think. From there, I want to just I think we'll probably wrap up the free agency kind of talk here shortly. But I think that it is important. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the center of the universe, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because again, I wanted to talk about the Preds because this also leads into the Leafs. Because Ryan O'Reilly was offered.
I understand where you're going with this.
Ryan O'Reilly was offered the same deal by the Leafs, and he chose to go to whatever the fuck is going on in Nashville.
I
overplaying
too want to
for.
live in Nashville, so I get it.
I get it, but also at the same time, and I guess he's already won his cup, so he doesn't need to go for it. But like, it was very funny. Someone pointed out to me that like in his post game like presser or whatever when the Leafs got out, he was talking very like in the past kind of thing. Was not talking like in the future sense. So it's very, very interesting to me that he decided to go there rather than play for a better team in Toronto. But that's his prerogative. Maybe he wants to make a little bit more money because the whole no tax, blah blah blah, this and that. Well, but I want to talk Leafs a little bit because the day one was pretty funny for the Leafs.
Yeah, it was not a good day.
It did not.
Brad did not make a good first impression. First the Easton Cohen draft, and then signing nobody was interesting. It was quite the play.
Which no, he did sign some people on the first day. That there were they were very weird, but we'll get.
The Ryan Reeves deal. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't bring this up. I can't believe I didn't bring this up. That's actually way worse than the Miles Wood deal. Sorry. Terrible.
So funny. But yeah, like even going back to the Cowan pick, like he was supposed to see like a third round draft. I think the highest person had him was like an early second round pick. Anyways, we passed the draft part. That was insane, but apparently he might be better than we think, but who cares? I don't care. I don't care about the Leafs prospects. I don't
These
care.
kids are 17. They're all going to be better or worse than we think. Who cares?
Really? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
But no, yeah. So first day one, they get Ryan Reeves, and in Ryan Reeves, first off, 3 years, $1.35 million. He's 36 years old. I think it makes sense in certain ways. Did you see him doing his interview talking about signing with the Leafs? And he was like,
no.
He was like, I like to be the guy who make sure it's if we're going out on the road, we're going out to dinner, everyone's going to be at dinner. I make sure that, I'll organize a party with make sure everyone's there. Very clearly, they said to him, they were like, we need you to hold this fucking team together because everyone is he's kind of I feel like things are getting really sassy and kind of what's the a little passive aggressive between all the players there, especially with all the Willie stuff now too, because he's not going to take a discount, which he shouldn't because no one else took a discount. If I were him, I'd be like, why am I the one taking a discount? I've already taken a discount for X amount of years. So it's just very interesting to me that they do this Reeves deal.
They're so cash strapped. They're so cash strapped.
It's the fact that it's for 3 years. And I get it. I get that they're again, the market dictates the price. If there were other teams being we're offering the same deal and he would rather go there, that it is what it is. He is
their Matt Hendricks.
He's their Matt Martin 2.0. But except this team is in a very different spot than when they signed Matt Martin. So very interesting there. And then they signed also John Klingberg again. It's only a 1 year, 4.15. But I just don't get it personally. Because I look at this team.
A better John Klingberg, and his name is Morgan Riley.
Exactly.
And he's fine.
Exactly. And John Klingberg is one of if not the worst defenseman defensively. He's one of the worst, if not the worst. I believe he actually is the worst by metrics. Worst defense. I believe I can't remember who it was. I think it was probably the Jay Fresh's stuff, as well as Evolving Wild. I think also had them.
I had him as trust Evolving Wild with my life, so
that's fair.
Fair.
Well, I guess it's Evolving Hockey, but you know what I mean. Regardless. I just don't get it because this kind of rings a bit of the Tyson Barrie alarm.
Yeah,
it just feels weird. And then also at the same time, I look at their decor and it's Liljegren can be their second power play guy.
Totally.
And I was talking to my Leafs buddies, and they're like, "Man, do you think that maybe the Leafs should go 2D on their power play?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about?" Why would they want to do that? They have Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and some other guys who they just signed, which we'll talk about in a minute. But why would they go 2D?
No.
That makes no goddamn sense. I don't understand it. Maybe they want to put Riley in more of a two-way position, see if he can do that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens when the season comes. But those two deals.
thing about the John Klingberg is the only thing, and it's not a very Brad Treliving thing to me. It's more of a Cal Dubas thing. Like the only way I could respect it would be if they're just like trying to go all in and be like, we are going to score the most goals in the NHL.
Yeah,
Like if that's what they're trying to do, I'd be okay with it. But they signed Ryan Reeves for 3 years. That's obviously not what they're trying to do. Like they're still trying to be a normal hockey team. I have some respect for those teams that just like kind of go all in on something. Like it's whatever, but that's not cohesive enough across the rest of what they're doing for me to have any faith in it whatsoever. You know?
I completely agree. And then, just to this, I think this will probably be our last thing we talk about free agency, but they at least had a better day too. That's for sure. On day two, they do make a couple good signings with Tyler Bertuzzi, signing for 5.5 for 1 year. I think that's a situation where he's like, I don't want to sign long term because I want to have a good year and again cash in when the cap goes up in quotes.
Yeah.
So good on them for recognizing that. He's
going to be really good for them too.
I consider him Michael Bunting, but better. Is the way I see it. And I think that, I think they had to move on from Bunting because he kind of got into a really weird spot. But, with like the officials and this and that.
That was so weird. Yeah.
But anyways, regardless, moving on from that, they get Max Domi, which again, I think is you don't like it?
I don't like the Max Domi deal. I that's a player to me that he's interesting because I feel like he's not as good. Like it's giving Blake Wheeler in the sense it's like, okay, maybe third line, this, that, whatever. Like I just think that he's okay, but people are making him sound better than he is, which makes me worry that they're going to make him play a role that's beyond his pay grade / capability, and he's going to not be super effective. I think he has potential. I just don't think he's going to be as good as people seem to be thinking this deal is going to be for them,
Yeah, I think it's good because, like, first off, it seems like he wants to be a Leaf. He wants to be a Leaf there. He only signed for 1 year, but I feel like he seems pretty candid on he wants to stay a Leaf because he's kind of bounced around. He would like to find a little more stability. But like, I don't know. I look at them and I'm like, okay, either they play him on the second line with like Tavares and Willie, assuming they don't trade Willie right away. Or they play him on the third line and they like put Matt Nyes in the top 6. Or like, so like, I think that's totally a fine depth scoring option. He's not great defensively, but I think that the Leafs have good defensive players in their bottom 6. Like David Kampf is one of the better defensive forwards. I think Calle Yarncroc is still pretty good defensively. So I don't hate it. I think that's a depth scoring guy. I almost look at it kind of like a much better version of like Sam Gagner signing with the Jets,
Yeah.
Where it's like, all in all, probably not a guy you want to have in your top 6, but like if you need to, you can bump him up.
I guess that's fair.
He's all right in the bottom 6.
And I think it's the kind of thing where it's like after the day one that they had where they lost a couple of players and all those kinds of things, it's like it's not a bad deal. So sometimes that's what you want. It's just not a bad deal.
Exactly. And again, 1 year, you can never go wrong with a 1 year. If they're bad this year somehow, you sell them off. Or if they don't like
Can't wait for them to sign Jonathan Taves and then...
Is he going to retire? I hope he retires.
I hope he retires too. Goodbye. Rip Bozo.
Man, we've been going on already for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my Lord in heaven.
So we want to, what's next?
Do you want to rip Puck Doku to wrap up?
Rip a little Puck Doku?
Rip a little Puck Doku. We won't get into too much. There's some foreshadowing we could do about some future deals on the horizon. Still a couple players left to be traded, but you know what? Maybe we'll save that for a rainy day, and we'll do a little Puck Doku today. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Puck Doku is a 3x3 grid that leaves 9 squares that you have to fill in 9 tries, and on each X and Y axis, there is either a team or a characteristic about a player, and you have to find someone that fits the bill in that particular quadrant. So if it's this team and this many points in a season, it's a player that scored that many points with that team. If it's 2 teams, someone who's played for both. And you only get 1 try for each square, which is a lot of pressure. But Brady and I are going to try and do it today. I haven't done my Puck Doku yet today. So I don't know how good Brady isn't editing. I guess we're about to find out. We did the puck doku, but it took us a long time. You should go to our YouTube channel and watch us do it because it was excruciatingly bad. Like honestly, like I couldn't have scripted a more excruciating puck doku battle. Like you have to watch it for yourself. You got to get the full experience. So Brady will have that up on our YouTube channel where we're gonna go through it. Spoiler alert: we got them all.
We did.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Just took us a minute. But thank you so much for listening to our episode this week of Can't Teach Sides a Hockey podcast. Very fun. Lots going on. Lots to talk about. We could have talked about tons more stuff. But yeah, we will be back in the next couple weeks when things happen. I can't believe we didn't even talk about the Pre-League to Bois trade at all. It's just, it feels like so much has happened between then.
We already kind of touched on it too. I
know we did an episode like 2 days before it actually happened. So like we basically knew what the return was already because that whole Velarde Iafallo return was rumored for like days before. So we talked about it. We got the whole 9. But yeah, that's kind of it that we have for today. We will be back when fun trades drop or if anything interesting happens in the league over the next couple months. I feel like we can expect it to be quiet-ish. I think the most exciting stuff from the year has already happened. But when Erik Karlsson gets traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, we will be here to talk about it.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube because we might do a couple things that aren't only audio based in the future. We might do some fun puck doku stuff together. Again, maybe a puck doku race of sorts or something else. Maybe some other random videos that aren't very audio based. So make sure you are subscribed there if you are a YouTube person, because we'll probably be doing some stuff there throughout the summer because it's a little easier to do random fun things through video rather than audio. So, but yeah, as Lyss was saying, thank you all for tuning in. It was a lot of fun today. Lyss, final closing remarks.
Yeah, because Brady doesn't like wrapping up the show. He's like,
I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at
this. It's okay. And I didn't even come up with anything to say either. But like Brady said, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your shows so you never miss when we drop.
And Twitter.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I have nothing else to say. I'm bad at these two. It's all good. And we will see you guys next time on our show. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Cheers. Enjoy your summer.